Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. I'm excited about today's session because it's not only a great opportunity for me to catch up with Donna, who I've known for years, but it's a great opportunity for us to talk about an industry that has been heavily impacted by everything that's been going on in the world today. So I am really excited about kind of having this discussion and talking about how the travel industry has been impacted and how individuals and really industry leaders like Donna, who've had businesses out there and very successful businesses for years, with Donna's business, Green Earth Travel, being established in 1997. Donna's been doing great things as far as driving not only travel and tourism, but helping people do adventure travels, all while doing them with that vegan flair. But with this year and with a lot of the restrictions we've had on travel, I think it's a kind of fitting time for us to talk about what Donna's been doing, how Donna's been pivoting, and also what we can learn from Donna on how to flex in a very, very difficult time. I think is something that many of us as vegan owners need to understand, that resilience that it takes. And when you have someone like Donna, I think leading the way, it can just be amazing to hear Donna's story. So first, let me just say welcome. Thanks, Donna, for coming today and sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me. As you can see, I have a lovely background, but we won't talk about it. It is travel related, though. It's all stamps of different countries.
Nice, nice. I didn't see that because I don't have my glasses on. We talked about glasses earlier, so I can just see general shapes. One quick thing before we get started, for anyone who is watching this live, we do love questions. So if you have any questions, or even if you just want to say a shout out and say, hey, I'm here, I'm listening live, love to see it. And I also will relay that question over to Donna if anyone does post a question. So Donna, let's get everyone grounded. I mean, I said that you started your business back in 1997, but I'd love to give people a little bit more flair of, what was it like when you first started? What was it like when you brought kind of this vegan eco perspective to travel, and kind of what was the world like and what inspired you to start your business?
So I became vegan in 1983. 80,
Okay.
wait, no. Yeah, 1983. Sorry. I can't think that far back. It's old. And then in 1985, I decided to get into travel. And what started happening back then, people were dedicated back then. I feel like people aren't as dedicated now because of the internet. But we can talk about
Mhm.
that later.
Okay.
People are and they're not. Um, and what was happening is I had a lot of friends that were vegan back then, and they would support me and they'd send their friends to me.
Hmm.
It was kind of interesting to figure out how where these vegan places were, because most of them were overseas, and I'd have to write them and it would take like months to get answers back. Now it's like seconds.
Yeah.
So but I did develop friendships with a lot of these people and a lot of these vendors, and um so that's how it kind of started. And then I became very involved with the first March for the Animals march in DC.
Hmm.
And that was about, um, I want to say about 30,000 people showed. And so
Okay.
I think I brought in like 3,000 people. I was the official travel agent.
Nice.
Back then it wasn't emailing somebody. I went and stalked the person that was organizing it in person.
Did you just do a shout out for like stalker marketing?
Yeah,
Or-
stalker market. Man, that's a good one. You just follow them until you meet them in person. You can't do that right now, though. Um,
I think we just do it differently now.
yeah, we stalk them online, right?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
he agreed, and I became the official travel agency for that. And with that, I developed a lot of clients
Okay.
because I was doing their hotels, and they're like, "Oh, you're a vegan travel agent, and oh, I want to use you from now on."
Okay.
So I developed a lot of clientele for years after that. And I also did the second march on Washington too, but I don't think it was as big.
Okay.
Um, and then that became the conference, and that they did their own thing.
Hmm.
Um, So, I was still doing just regular travel, and I was, getting my clientele, and I had an interview with it was Vegetarian Times at the time. They
Okay.
interviewed me, and I think that came first. The Washington, no, sorry, the Washington Post interviewed me in 1994, and Vegetarian Times shortly after.
Okay.
But the Washington Post went what we call viral now, but I guess it was called what's the word when the article goes from one newspaper to another? I can't think. But it just, the AP put it out to all. It was not just the Washington Post, it went to all
Okay.
national
All
papers.
distribution. Yeah. It's almost like
Distribution.
syndication.
Syndication, thank you. That's the word. See, you just know viral now, and that's it. That was the viral back then.
Absolutely.
That happened when I was on my honeymoon in South
Oh,
Africa.
wow.
So I came back and I had like at least 30 calls to call back because we didn't do emails back then.
Hmm.
And people held on to that article for like 5, 6 years. And they would call
Nice.
me and say, "Oh, I saw this article and I want to use you." So that's how I kind of started, but I was still working at an agency.
Hmm.
But it got to the point in around 96, 97 where I realized I needed to go out on my own. I couldn't really care for their clients as well as mine.
Okay.
So that's where it started. And yeah, 90 August 1st, 1997 is when it kind of became
Nice. I'm glad
official.
you even have the official date. I think for
Yeah,
many of us, we don't even have that. So that's a wonderful
yeah.
date to almost celebrate. Do you celebrate it as an anniversary or something like that for your business?
I did for the 20th. And what I did is I invited all my clients to come to this lodge. It's a Savage River Lodge for my 20th. It was 3 years ago, going on
Oh,
four
nice.
years. And we just
Hmm.
spent a lovely weekend, and they did a great vegan dinner for us. And it was just a nice way to celebrate. But no, I don't celebrate it every year. I mean, I put it on, social media, and that's about it.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So let's fast forward to maybe the beginning of the year. Let's talk
Mhm.
about kind of what you thought this year was going to be, which many of us had dreams and plans for. And maybe think about what did you have planned? What were you thinking this year would be for you? And then we'll kind of transition over to, what this year became for many of us and specifically for you in this industry.
Well, I actually, in 2018, I'm going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
2018 was going to be a good year, except for in June, I fell. I ended up in the hospital for like a month. I still worked through it, but
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really go out and promote my company
Yeah.
because I couldn't go anywhere,
Yeah.
and a lot of my promotions are at festivals. I do like in person stuff, which is not
Okay.
happening right now.
Yeah.
Um, so, I kind of caught up with that. And then my mother was ill and she ended up passing away like 6 months later in 2019. So I
Mm.
thought, and so that year was just kind of shot for me. I
Yeah.
was trying to keep going, but it was just
It was a
whatever
lot.
it was. So 2020, I had grand scheme, I just had really good hopes. In fact, I was looking at all my inquiries in January and I had like 20 or 30 inquiries, which I hadn't had in a couple of years,
Hmm.
people wanting to travel and go places. And so I was busy in January, getting ready to, start booking for people. And I actually also had a clientele of comedians that were going to travel nationwide.
Really
Well, it wasn't vegan travel, but it was political travel, and they were going to
nice.
travel all over the country and do these shows, right?
Hmm.
So I had like, I don't know, like 20 hotels lined up for them
Wow.
all over. Yeah, it was. They were doing 14. No, it was actually 20. Like 28 hotels because there was a
Okay.
hotel for them and then a hotel for their fans. So I
Hmm.
did all this work. They go on their trip to Seattle the end of February. So remember that date. If you
Yes,
guys
especially
remember that
Seattle.
date, yes, that was the day that Seattle became the epicenter of the COVID. I
Mhm.
had my clients flying there.
Wow.
Actually, I didn't put them on the plane. They booked their own airline tickets, but I had them staying at the hotel. They're going to, be at a concert or a show with a
Mhm.
thousand other people greeting them.
Wow.
And one of them did get sick. Actually, 2 of them got sick.
Really?
But
Oof.
they came through it and they're okay.
Oh, good, good, good.
But it was right after that, everything just went down, down.
Mhm.
And it was mid-March where it was really the problem. I had some clients that I booked. There were vegan clients that were booked to Dominican Republic.
Mhm.
And I was in a discussion with some other travel agents about, nobody should be traveling right now. And
Mhm.
I forgot, I looked at their email and I realized, because I was going to call them and say, listen, I think we should postpone it.
Mhm.
And then I looked at their email and they had left that morning.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, Dominican Republic was not in a bad place, and it was probably safer for them to be there. It's
Mhm.
just, it was trying to get them back. She
Get 'em
was in a
back.
panic mode, and their flights were canceled. All the flights were pulled out and canceled, and I had to get them back. I had some woman in Europe. I had to get her back. It took her like 3 days to get home.
Mhm.
It took them 24 hours to get home. Because
Wow.
I rebooked them on other flights.
Yeah.
And I had people that were booked to travel in the future, and I had to deal with all of that. I had to rebook everyone or get refunds for the people who needed it. And there was at least 20 or 30 people that I had to work with on that.
That's a lot. But
It's a
I'm
lot. So that
almost
was my
glad.
work without getting paid.
Yes, that's the other thing, because a lot of it means refunds, so therefore it
Right.
means not getting paid, but it's kind of an interesting dynamic because it also was an opportunity for you to take care of your clients. It's an opportunity for them to see how you can help them, because
Mhm.
I know a lot of people that were stranded in a lot of different countries, and they didn't have someone to help them through that process, so I'm
Right. Right.
sure that they will remember you for that.
Yeah,
Um
and it was actually only those 2 groups of people that were stuck somewhere. So I feel lucky that it wasn't like a big group, on a cruise line. The cruise
mhm,
lines have really got the cruises got hit starting in January. We started seeing some viruses, but it's not the first time we've seen viruses on a cruise ship.
yes.
So I was like, I don't have a lot of cruisers, but we'll just keep an eye. I just always keep that eye out for things. But we saw something coming back in
Yeah,
January with the
yeah,
cruise lines.
yeah, I
Uh,
could imagine, because a lot of the lines in the international waters, you were hearing the stories.
mhm.
But I think, like you said, you just weren't sure if this was just a traditional bug or flu or what was it, and really what it turned out to be. I think that's the biggest thing that I think surprised a lot of us is we thought March was going to be difficult. We thought we'd have a few months, but we didn't maybe. And I don't know if you felt the same way. Is I didn't think we'd be where we are today. Did
No,
you
I
think?
didn't either.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had planned on going to New York City. It's like March 7th or something, March 15th, I think it was. Because March 7th, I went to the Adventure Travel Show, and people were like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, I have always been like the September 11th incidents, all the terrorist incidents. I'm always like, you know what? When you stop traveling, they win. Always been like
Mm,
that. So it was
mhm.
like that mentality. I was still in that, even though I didn't realize what was going on. Now I was doing things like not touching handlebars and, just trying to be cautious, but I was determined to go to that travel show, and there was several thousand people there. It wasn't as busy as it usually is, but it was busy. And I wanted to support them. And then the next week, I was supposed to actually go on a Virgin Voyage cruise ship.
Oh. Mhm.
I don't, if you guys don't know who this is, it's Richard Branson's cruise line, which was supposed to start in April. And they had a travel agent showing in March, supposedly. And the reason why I wanted to try it, because I'm not a big cruiser either, is that it's very eco-friendly.
Mhm.
They're changing the world as far as their ships are going. And they had a mostly vegan restaurant on
Yes.
board. So, how exciting was that? Right? So I
Eh,
was supposed to go in March. They canceled 2 days beforehand. Luckily, I was able to cancel my bus ticket because it's a bus ticket to New York, and my hotel was canceled. And Then I thought, well, they'll just take me in April, and then that got canceled. And then I decided, well, I'm going to put together a group. I was, what we were talking about. This was going
Yeah.
to be over in like a few months. So I set up a Facebook page for Virgin Voyages for Vegans, because there are some vegan cruise Facebook pages, and I
Hmm.
got like 200 people like in the first day to join, or
Nice.
a
I
couple.
have to join that. I was actually
You join
looking at
that?
that. I was so
Yeah,
excited about it.
it's
Yeah.
still there. It's still
Hmm.
there. It's just I haven't been posting much on it lately. Um,
Hmm.
so I got like 6 or 7 people to join on the cruise, and they're still in touch with me. The cruise just canceled today for December. It was for December 2nd. So it
Mm.
just they haven't actually have they? No, they did cancel it. They haven't sent me the email yet. They put it in the news that it was canceled.
Okay.
So we're not going. I was bummed. I was actually even planning up until September that I was going until.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I thought, it was kind of doubtful, but I really wanted to go.
Yeah.
It's not gonna it's not gonna happen.
And I can get that because it's been hard. I mean, for a lot of us, especially that do a lot of travel, who are used to seeing the world, connecting with people, and also so it's such a travel is such a great way to get to know other people, but also get to know yourself because it
Mhm.
puts you in these new environments that it's something to miss. It's something to kind of, you know what I mean, yearn for. So I could completely understand what you were thinking about, saying, all right, I'm going, I'm going to go for it. So how do you look at the rest of this year in 2021 now that, the headlines are starting to surge again with headlines about what's happening, second waves, third waves, depending on what country you're in. How are you looking at your business differently, and how are you kind of finding your way forward?
It's a wash. I mean, I did talk to a client this morning about going away, but it's domestic. Everything has been domestic. And
Okay.
that's where I've been pivoting to, is it's going to be domestic travel for the next year, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
Because there's very few countries that will allow us in. Now, I know of a lot of travel agents that have pivoted towards Mexico and the
Mm,
Caribbean because they still let you in. I am not really a firm believer of that because I want people to be able to get back quickly in case anything happens.
yeah, that's the tricky part. But I love that you've pivoted to domestic because a lot of people are starting to do more trips that are maybe a little bit local, but it allows them to kind of get tap into that feel of travel and at the same time kind of take a break because many of us been cooped up in our own homes, in our own worlds for so long
Every
that it's
few
been nice.
months, yeah, every few
Yeah.
months, I'm like to my husband, we got to get out. Let's get out of the zip code. Let's do something because I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
I'm not used to, with the exception of 2018, I'm, on a plane like every few months, so and driving somewhere once a month if I can. So we have been going to West Virginia, and there's a vegan bed and breakfast that we've been going to, and that's the only place my husband trusts right now.
And that's maybe a good question. Like, if someone is thinking about getting away, thinking about that option,
Yeah.
what do you recommend for them as far as tips? And should they reach out to you if they're looking for maybe a vegan bed and breakfast? They're looking for to do something domestic. How could they leverage you to maybe book something that's safe for their families?
Um, well, I mean, if you're not going to use a travel agent, you need to call the hotel and make sure what their protocols are. Make sure that the staff is wearing masks, and that I don't know what the new laws are in each state right now, but I know that in West Virginia, it was that you had to wait 72 hours before you put somebody in that room. Now I think it's 24 hours. But you don't want somebody staying there the night before, if they've been sick. So y- those little things, and it's really up to the individual how comfortable they are with doing this too. Um, so, for instance, the place in West Virginia that we go to, they wait 24 hours. You have to wear a mask in all public areas, and the staff has to wear masks, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Once you're outside, you can take them off. Or
Okay.
if you're eating in there, which we did eat at breakfast there, and I don't know that I was totally comfortable with doing that, but it was cold outside and raining outside, so we didn't have much of a choice. Some of the hotels, big chain hotels or even little chain hotels, will just have the staff wear the mask and not demand that the clients do. I'm not
Mhm.
really comfortable with that,
Okay.
personally. But that's, again, your own comfort level, what you want to do.
Okay. And do
Uh,
you Oh, sorry, good.
no, and also, and I didn't do it last time because I don't know, maybe because I know them so well, is that bring the hand sanitizers with you, and even though they're saying that they're cleaning it, just to be extra careful, bring hand sanitizer with you, bring wipes with you, wipe down the doorknobs, wipe down um the remotes. They don't have
Yes.
phone. They don't have phones in there anymore. So, just things like that. Just wipe down all the counters that you think you're going to use a lot.
No, and that makes sense because I think a lot of times we think everyone else is doing what they should be doing, and a lot of times this takes a little bit of everyone doing a little bit of their part, and us bringing our own sanitizer, making sure that we wipe things down and keep it safe, and even just keep it safe throughout the day because we
Mhm.
go out. You go out of your room and then you come back in. You want to make sure that you're kind of creating that clean threshold in a sense. That's one thing that we try to do in the house here, that there's certain things that we do when we come in the house after being outside for a while.
Yeah, I've gotten lax with that. I mean, I used to wash down all my groceries and everything beforehand. I know. It
Now,
would
what
be
would
like a 3-hour trek just to go grocery shopping, because you get there, you have to hand sanitize when you get there. You got to put your mask on, make sure it's on right, and then you got to avoid people, and then you get home and you have to wash the groceries. You know, Or you order from Whole Foods and you have to do it with them or whoever you order from.
That is true. It definitely can get a little tedious, but we've come up with a little process in our house, so it's actually worked out pretty good because we almost have stations. We have like bottles at the door with
Mhm.
little cloths that we can wipe things down.
Right.
And then yeah, we still clean all the vegetables, but I've been getting a lot of delivery lately
Yeah, I'll
as a
start
way that I have to cut down.
delivery in the winter just because I'm ready for the spike. I think the
Yeah,
spike it is starting to happen. Actually, I will tell you, in certain countries, they started locking down again.
yeah.
Most of Europe has started to lock down.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that's going to be really interesting this winter. So for people that have to travel, what
Yep.
would you recommend for them to travel safely? What would you recommend they consider, they do? Are there things that they should keep in mind, or is it really just do the best you can out there? Because,
No, it's
you know,
well, yeah, it is do the best you can, but you know, again, if you're going to a country where they're not allowing you, or if they allow you, excuse me, you need to find out what their protocols are, because some of the countries will make you quarantine 14 days. So, and then if you come back, some of the states make you quarantine. Like in New York, if you come back from overseas, they make you quarantine for 14 days. So a lot of people from New York are not going to Caribbean islands or Mexico just for that. And even if you go state to state, each state has different protocols. You
absolutely.
know, I know New York was really strict about bringing people in for a while.
Yeah.
Um, it changes every day. So for me to tell you which states, I don't want to say that. I
How do
don't.
you stay up to date on what's kind of the protocols? Do you have any recommendations for anyone on how they can kind
I
of
would go to the CDC website.
okay. Okay. Now, we've talked a lot about 2020. We've talked about, like you said, it's some of this year has just been a wash for the industry. What are you looking forward to in 2021? I mean, I know a lot of us are like, "Oh, can't we wait to get back to A, B, and C?" But I personally feel like it's going to be a little bit more of a slow transition.
It is going to be a slow
Um,
transition. That's why
yeah.
I'm going into domestic right now, because I think that's where it's going to start. I
Okay.
do think that the cruise lines are going to be a good option at some point, even though people won't believe it. It's just, I don't know how, they are so clean, but there are going to be things like when you're cruising, you're not going to be able to go off on your own. You're going to have to go with the tour companies that they use that they know are doing the protocols that need to be done.
Okay.
If you go off on your own, actually right now, there are some cruise lines that are up and running in Europe. If you go off on your own, they won't allow you back on the cruise ship.
Wow.
As far as flying goes, you probably need to, I know that you have to get there 2 to 3 hours prior to, but I would maybe even get there a little bit earlier because I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But when you get on the plane, you got to wipe everything down. You have to wear masks. If you're not a mask person, then flying is not going to be for you.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact,
I've
if
seen.
you're a non-mask person, most hotels won't accept you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you can go without wearing your mask when you're in your room. You can do whatever you want, but when you're out in the public areas, you have to be careful.
Okay. All right. And then what should people think about as far as many of us out there that love travel, yearn for travel, even though we can't? How do you keep that love alive? Like, do you look through your old photos in your phone? Do you imagine one day? Do you journal? I mean, what do you do to kind of give yourself an outlet when you're not able to travel like you're used to?
Well, I have been posting when I can my old photos or my clients' photos. I also have this thing. I can't remember the name of it. If you don't mind, I'm going to look at it. It's a company that actually will post for me. So
Okay.
it gives people inspiration. I don't know if you can share. Can we share screen or?
We could, but it might be a little bit hard to do because I have to make sure you have the software in your computer.
Let me just see.
We can just mention it.
Yeah, hold on one second. It's called everything is going slow here. It's called like Champ or something, and they post for me.
Okay.
Or Branch Up, that's what it's called.
Branch up. Okay.
Yeah, and they just posted a picture for me yesterday, and it was about Fundy Bay in Wales.
Hmm.
And it's a beautiful picture, and I mean, I'm not getting the same amount of reactions that I was getting because people aren't thinking about travel right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world. I just bring that up because some of us have loves for things. And what happens is we keep that fire alive. We may not be able to do it like we used to, but we use it as a way to inspire and even remind us that, you know what I mean, that brighter days are coming because
Yes.
we are
Yeah.
definitely in a difficult situation. But I believe that brighter days are coming. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, it can't go well. Yes, it can. I won't say that, but yeah, it's only got to get better. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see less big groups and more small groups, which I've always liked anyway.
Okay.
I like the small family companies.
Hmm.
And I think that's how it's going to roll, is starting off with small companies in the US, and then it'll branch out eventually.
Okay, perfect. So if anybody's thinking of traveling, if anyone's thinking of maybe planning something domestic for their family, for, maybe a small group of people, how can they get in touch with you, or when should they get in touch with you, or what's the best way to potentially
I,
work with you?
I can put it on the chat, right? Is that right?
Oh, they won't see the chat. No,
Oh, I thought
because
there
this
was.
is broadcasted out to everywhere.
Yeah, I know, but I thought there was a way I could do it. Anyway, it's greenearthtravel.com is the website.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you can post it in where it says post comment, you can post it in StreamYard if you want to post it there. It's also in the description as well.
in the comments.
Yeah, if you're here in StreamYard, if you click on the comment box on the right-hand side, then at the bottom, you should see something that says post a comment. Do you see
Yeah,
that?
it doesn't. No, it's not having it for me. I used to do
Okay.
StreamYard.
Okay.
But you can go to greenearthtravel.com, and you can also email me info@greenearthtravel.com. I do have some group trips coming up. And again, they're going to be small. They're going to be like 6 to 8 people, which
Okay.
hence makes the cost rise. But um, I have one to Alaska. I have one to Yellowstone, and then I have one to Utah, which will go to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary. I used to do those years ago. So I'm in the
Mm,
works of finalizing it, which I've been saying I've been doing for about a month or two, but I'm going to get it done. I have to get it done this week. I don't have a choice. So
okay,
that will be up on my site in the next 2 weeks.
perfect.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well,
And then if, people just want to do weekend trips or they want to do their own thing, I can do that for them as well.
oh, perfect. Yeah, because I think some people are probably going to be interested in the group trips, but also maybe getting some help for you and
Right.
scheduling something for a weekend trip or something. Because I love the idea that you mentioned of being able to go to like a vegan bed and breakfast. And also, it can be a fun time to build some new traditions where you do support these local, small vegan bed and breakfasts and, kind of mini hotels and so
Right.
forth, because I think it's important, even in kind of the vegan travel industry, to support them as well. The international travel is great, but the
Right.
domestic kind of infrastructure of travel is a great thing as well.
Right. And I will tell you, the B&Bs are doing very well because people
Yeah,
are wanting to get away for a weekend.
yeah, yeah.
Because I was worried about, this one place, and he said, no, we're booked.
Wow,
So they're
that's really
doing
good
very
news.
well. Yeah.
That's really, really, really great news. All right. Well, that's good. I love that. I love that we're giving people some options if they are looking for some travel. And I also love that you have some trips planned for people who are interested in something from a domestic standpoint. So I think that we've covered so much ground today as far as your history and travel and everything in between, as far as how people can stay safe and how they can still travel, and also give people kind of an update on what's happening kind of in the industry. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we wrap up today's session?
No, just it is going to happen. I will tell you that every election year, travel does slow down for a while until after the election and they know what's going on. So I'm hoping that after next week, things will start to, jump back up. And come January, I'll be booking like I used to.
Perfect. We are wishing the best for you and
Thank
really
you.
excited as well for things to kind of turn around and allow people to get out there in the world again and connect with
Yes.
people, because I do think it's an amazing thing to be able to do. So thank you so much, Donna, for being my guest today.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone who has joined us live. It was great to have you here. It's great to see you here. Even if you're listening to this as a replay, we're really excited that you've taken a moment out of your day to hang out with Donna and I and talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of travel and obviously vegan travel as well. If you have any questions, you can always post them even after this live session. I will make sure I relay them over to Donna, or I will try to my best to answer them as well. And as always, we love your feedback. We love your support. So any thumbs up, likes, or shares, we welcome from anyone out there, because we love to get this information out to the world, let people know about all these great, amazing businesses like Donna's business, and also show the world how we are not only vegans, but we are vegan professionals and we build amazing, great businesses that move the movement forward.
Thank
So
you.
thanks, Donna.